These are 10 buffet foods that could send you straight to the hospital, and the statistics behind why they're so dangerous will shock you. Every year, 48 million Americans get sick from foodborne illness, 128,000 end up hospitalized, and 3,000 die. With buffets generating $8 billion in revenue annually in the United States alone, understanding which foods pose the greatest risk could save your life. Let me start with a sobering reality check. The temperature danger zone, that critical range between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, is where bacteria multiply at an alarming rate. As Shelley Feist from the Partnership for Food Safety Education explains, the zone between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit is what we call the danger zone because, at those temperatures, bacteria love to grow. In just 20 minutes, bacteria levels can double. After 2 hours in the zone, food becomes a breeding ground for potentially deadly pathogens. The buffet industry operates on razor-thin margins, averaging just 5% net profit on a typical $20 ticket. This economic pressure creates a perfect storm for food safety compromises. Between 5 and 25% of any given buffet dish will be wasted, but the pressure to minimize loss can lead to dangerous shortcuts in food handling and temperature control. Let's start with the first food you should absolutely avoid. The Centers for Disease Control classifies raw or undercooked fish as a high-risk food choice, and for good reason. When you see sushi at a buffet, you're looking at one of the most dangerous items on the entire spread. Raw fish can harbor bacteria like salmonella and dangerous parasites that can cause severe illness. The problem with buffet sushi isn't just the raw fish itself, it's the conditions. Sushi needs to be sitting on a bed of ice to prevent rapid bacterial growth, but with the hustle and bustle of buffet operations and the many varied dishes staff need to monitor, it's not guaranteed that buffet sushi maintains proper temperature control throughout service. Think about it this way. High-end sushi restaurants have dedicated sushi chefs who prepare fish throughout the day, ensuring freshness. Buffets operating on those thin margins I mentioned simply can't afford this level of specialized attention. The sushi you're seeing might have been prepared hours ago and left sitting at unsafe temperatures. Here's something that will make you think twice about that tuna at the buffet line. According to registered dietitian Renee Fichek, all fish needs to be kept very cold from the second it comes out of the water to when it hits the pan, and tuna in particular is especially susceptible to scombrotoxin, which can cause serious cramps and headaches if it's stored above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Scombroid poisoning accounts for about 5% of all reported food poisoning in the United States and about 40% of poisonings resulting from fish consumption. In the United States, fewer than 100 scombroid fish poisoning cases are reported each year, but tuna is implicated in about 85% of these cases. What makes this particularly insidious is that once histidine converts to histamine at temperatures above 60 degrees, normal cooking temperatures won't destroy it. Even properly cooked fish can still result in poisoning. The largest scombroid outbreak on record occurred in 1973 when commercially canned tuna poisoned 232 people in the north-central United States. While canned tuna is different from buffet tuna, it illustrates just how dangerous temperature abuse can be with this particular fish. This one might surprise you because sprouts seem so healthy, but according to nutritionist Renee Fichek, they grow in damp environments, and it's hard to get them thoroughly cleaned. That's why people get sick from sprouts so often. Sprouts are one of the most difficult vegetables to thoroughly clean, making them susceptible to foodborne illness. They grow in warm, wet conditions, the perfect breeding ground for bacteria like E. coli. Even when they look fresh and crisp on the salad bar, they could be harboring dangerous pathogens deep in their structure where washing can't reach. The same concern applies to romaine lettuce and raw spinach, which can also be contaminated with E. coli. But sprouts are particularly problematic because their growing conditions are ideal for bacterial multiplication, and their structure makes thorough cleaning nearly impossible. Eggs are common carriers of salmonella, and cooked egg dishes present a serious risk if not properly handled. The Food and Drug Administration warns that even eggs that appear fresh can still make you sick. Cooked egg dishes that aren't eaten immediately need to be heated to 165 degrees Fahrenheit before serving to ensure diminished risk of salmonella, something that's not guaranteed at a buffet. Here's something that might disturb you. Many buffets use powdered eggs rather than fresh eggs, as revealed in several behind-the-scenes TikTok videos from buffet workers. While powdered eggs aren't inherently dangerous, they're often reconstituted in large batches and left sitting for extended periods, increasing contamination risk. Cooked quiche can harbor E. coli bacteria, and egg salad is particularly risky because it combines eggs with mayonnaise, creating an even more favorable environment for bacterial growth. When these dishes sit in the danger zone for hours, they become bacterial breeding grounds. Kristen Kirkpatrick, a registered dietitian at the Cleveland Clinic, explains why you should stick to vinegar-based dressings. Eating foods that are higher in acid, like dressings with vinegar, offer some protection against foodborne illness. They make it harder for bacteria to grow, compared to creamy dressings like ranch and Caesar, which are made with eggs or milk and often not properly refrigerated. Those creamy dressings like ranch and Caesar that are so popular at buffets are made with eggs or milk products. When they're not properly refrigerated, and let's be honest, how often do you see buffet dressing containers sitting in ice? They become perfect breeding grounds for harmful bacteria. The acid in vinegar-based dressings creates an environment that's hostile to bacterial growth, offering you some protection. It's a simple switch that could save you from a very unpleasant experience later. Cantaloupe is one of the major vectors of foodborne illness in the produce world. The hard ridges of melons harbor bacteria like Salmonella and Listeria, which can come into contact with the edible flesh when the fruit is cut. As James E. Rogers, Director of Food Safety Research and Testing at Consumer Reports, explains, when you cut into produce, you increase the risk of transferring bacteria that may be on its surface into its flesh. Cut melons should always be kept refrigerated at temperatures below 41 degrees Fahrenheit. But at buffets, you'll often see cut melons sitting at room temperature for hours. Melons have made Consumer Reports' list of top food recalls in recent years, and pre-cut melons served on buffets represent an even higher risk, because they've been exposed to potential contamination from cutting surfaces and handling. The surface of cantaloupe is particularly problematic because its netted rind provides countless tiny spaces where bacteria can hide and multiply. When that contaminated rind comes into contact with a knife or cutting board, the bacteria transfer directly to the flesh you're about to eat. According to Jessica Crandall Snyder, a spokesperson for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, clear broths, especially vegetable-based ones, are a better bet than dairy or cream-based soups. Just because you see steam coming from soup doesn't mean it's the proper temperature. The water could be from the well holding the soup. This is a crucial point that most people miss. Steam doesn't necessarily indicate proper food temperature. Cream-based soups are susceptible to bacterial growth if not kept at the proper temperature. And buffets may not always ensure that hot foods remain consistently hot throughout service. The dairy components in cream-based soups provide an excellent medium for bacterial growth when temperatures drop into the danger zone. Unlike clear broths, which are naturally more acidic and less hospitable to bacteria, cream soups become bacterial breeding grounds when temperature control fails. Here's an insider revelation that might make you reconsider that seafood section. A buffet owner on Reddit revealed, "I've seen Chinese buffets at the fish market going and buying bottom-of-the-barrel seafood, including crab legs past their prime. And then they don't steam them properly either to save on volume." This anonymous testimony highlights a serious problem in the buffet industry. Economic pressure drives some operators to purchase lower-grade seafood and then cut corners on preparation. Improperly steamed crab legs can leave you with rubbery meat or worse, put you at risk of food poisoning. Shellfish and crustaceans like shrimp, crab, and lobster are particularly susceptible to contamination if not handled properly. They should never appear discolored, have an off-putting odor, or be served at room temperature. But identifying these warning signs can be difficult when shellfish is buried under sauces or mixed into other dishes. Raw oysters are a popular delicacy, but they're incredibly hazardous if not stored correctly. They're prone to bacterial contamination, especially when left at room temperature. In 2009, over 50 people were afflicted with food poisoning from 2 different hotels, with buffet oysters believed to be the culprit. What makes contaminated oysters particularly dangerous is that they're impossible to distinguish from safe ones. You can't tell by looking, smelling, or even tasting whether an oyster harbors dangerous bacteria. When oysters sit in the temperature danger zone, harmful bacteria multiply rapidly, turning what should be a delicacy into a potential trip to the emergency room. The 2009 hotel outbreak demonstrates how quickly oyster contamination can spread and affect multiple people. Unlike some foodborne illnesses that might cause mild discomfort, oyster-related food poisoning can be severe and require hospitalization. The final category might seem less obviously dangerous, but fried foods at buffets present their own unique risks. According to Amy Alexander, a registered dietitian at NutriPeak, fried foods can lose their appeal quickly. After being on display for quite some time, they turn soggy and stale, meaning the oil is oxidizing, which gives an unpleasant flavor. But the problems go beyond taste. When fried foods sit out for extended periods, they become breeding grounds for bacteria, especially if they're kept at temperatures below the safe holding temperature of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The oil breakdown that creates that unpleasant flavor. Alexander mentions also creates compounds that can be harmful to your health. Additionally, these foods are extremely high in calories compared to grilled or baked alternatives and contain more trans fat. While this isn't a direct food safety issue, consuming large quantities of degraded fried foods can contribute to digestive distress that mimics food poisoning symptoms. Beyond these specific foods, there are systematic problems with buffet operations that compound the risks. Dr. Jennifer Quinlan from Drexel University points out, "Your greatest risk for contamination is more often going to be from other people taking that food, whether that's with their hands or whether it's airborne. Kristen Kirkpatrick adds, "If someone goes to the bathroom and doesn't properly sanitize or is sick, and then touches the food or serving utensils, that gets transferred to you." The National Sanitation Foundation conducted a study of the most germ-riddled public places, and restaurant trays came out near the top of the list, just behind park sandboxes. Studies by the National Environmental Health Association have shown that a high percentage of lemon rinds and flesh contain microbes that have potential to cause disease. Those innocent-looking lemon slices for your water or tea can become contaminated when sliced on shared cutting boards, and self-serve lemon slices are even riskier since consumers may touch them with dirty fingers. Understanding why these problems exist requires looking at the economics of buffet operations. Chef Britt, quoted in The Hustle, explains, "Buffets have always been a landing spot for food scraps. They call them the trickle-down specials. Day-old vegetables or beef trimmings can be repurposed into a soup or a hash. More than 1,300 buffets have shut down in the past 20 years. Old Country Buffet is down to just 17 of its original 350 locations. Hometown Buffet has closed 217 of 250 eateries. Ryan's Buffet downsized from 400 restaurants to just 16. This massive industry contraction reflects the economic pressures that drive corner cutting in food safety. Even Golden Corral, America's largest buffet chain, has struggled. The chain dropped from 490 restaurants pre-pandemic to 305 locations, though it has seen a 125% increase in foot traffic between 2021 and 2023. However, as recently as June 2025, another Golden Corral franchisee declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy, listing $150,000 in assets against $1.64 million in liabilities. The problems we're seeing in buffets reflect broader food safety challenges. In 2024, recalls because of Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli increased by 41%. and accounted for 39% of all recalls. The total number of people who became ill from recalled food in 2024 reached 1,392. The Boar's Head Listeria outbreak provides a cautionary tale about recall time lag problems. While the first case was identified in late May 2024, the recall wasn't issued until July 26th. People continued getting sick from Boar's Head products until September 13th. This demonstrates how dangerous pathogens can spread widely before authorities can respond effectively. Dr. Christine Lee at the Cleveland Clinic summarizes the reality. Buffets are hot zones for viruses and bacteria, putting you at risk for either stomach flu, typically caused by norovirus or rotavirus, or food poisoning. The annual cost of foodborne illness in the United States reaches $75 billion when you factor in medical costs, lost productivity, and other economic impacts. With 48 million Americans getting sick each year from contaminated food, the odds of encountering dangerous food at a buffet are higher than most people realize. But this doesn't mean you need to avoid buffets entirely. If you choose to eat at buffets, focus on items that are visibly hot and steaming, properly iced cold foods, fresh vegetables with vinegar-based dressings, and broth-based soups. Avoid the 10 categories I've outlined today, and you'll significantly reduce your risk of becoming another foodborne illness statistic. The next time you're standing in front of that buffet spread, remember that those appealing dishes might be hiding invisible dangers. Your health is worth more than saving a few dollars on an all-you-can-eat meal, especially when the cost of getting it wrong could land you in the hospital. Choose wisely, eat safely, and remember that when it comes to buffets, what you don't put on your plate might be just as important as what you do.